Streaming with on live streaming now on Facebook and on YouTube simultaneously each morning. So go ahead and share this video out. Like us if you're on YouTube. Like the video and like my channel. Subscribe to my channel. I don't know the lingo, okay? I'm not very good at this part. All right. Like, love, and share this video out. Give me a comment. Let me know where you're watching from, or a recovery date would be even better. Today we're going to talk about addiction and the brain, addiction and the brain. One is a genius, the other's insane. Give me just a second. Let me make sure that we are live right now. Hey, I am! Look at that! Why isn't it showing anything else? It's not showing up over here. It's showing up on my phone, though. Woo! We'll see if we're live on YouTube or just Facebook. What's going on here? Now it says 12 viewers, multi-stream. I got this thing, man. This thing. Technology, am I right? Technology. Holy crap, man. So yes, today we're going to be talking about addiction and the brain. And what happens in your brain when you become addicted to drugs. What drugs do to your brain. We're going to talk about why you build a tolerance to drugs, or your addiction, rather, because, drug addiction is the one we focus on mostly here at the Point of Change. Drug addiction is the one that kind of takes the spotlight when you talk about addiction because of the obvious signs and symptoms of people who are suffering with a drug addiction. We kind of stand out from the crowd. We do a little more crazier things than someone with a food addiction. Sex addiction is sometimes glorified. If you're a sex addict, hey, everybody loves a sex addict, right? Drug addiction is the one that kind of takes the spotlight. So we're going to talk about drugs we're going to focus mostly on drug addiction, but most of this stuff goes across the board for addiction. Brandy Conklin, Angie Sheets, Linzer. Oh, finally realize you're addicted and don't have control no matter how small the amount. Right on, Linzer. When you finally realize that you are suffering with a brain disease, a chronic relapsing brain disease characterized by excessive or compulsive use, obsessive or compulsive use of a substance or activity despite negative consequences. So in other words, you just keep doing something, even though it's terrible for you, even though everybody in your life wants you to stop, even though there's no reason for you to continue doing it, even though in a lot of cases you yourself want to stop. You don't even want to do it anymore, but you just keep doing it. So that's what we're going to talk about today. The actual what happens in your brain when you become addicted to drugs. Okay, so first we're going to start off. Oh man, I got to avoid this giant bright spot here on my board. Oh man, let me see if I tilt a little bit. Maybe turn it this way. Oh, look at that. There we go. There we go. Money maker. All right, so I'm going to draw a brain here to start. Here's your brain. Hey, that's a pretty dang good brain. I did pretty good. Right on. So the main areas of the brain that we need to focus on when we're talking about addiction is, first of all, the area that is affected by addiction, where drugs actually work, is in the middle of your brain, back here in a little area called the limbic reward center. In the middle of the limbic reward center is an area called the VTA, or the ventral tegmental area, but you can chop that down to VTA, all right? The VTA is right here. That is where all your neurotransmitters are created, like dopamine, serotonin, all that stuff is created right there. Extending from the VTA, you have neural passageways. These are passageways where the neurotransmitters are sent out. When you do good things, dopamine is the one that we're mostly concerned with when we talk about addiction, by the way. Dopamine gets sent down down these neural pathways, down to areas called the receptor beds at the end of these, along the way, sometimes, whatever, on these neural pathways, there are areas called receptor beds. Here's a blown up view. Look at me. Look how talented I am. All right. Here's a blown up view of a receptor bed, okay? So you got these little webs that kind of intertwine, all kinds of activity going on in this brain, right? And along on these receptor beds, there are all kinds of tiny little mouths that are called receptors. And these kind of gobble up the dopamine as it comes down these neural pathways, comes down to the receptor beds, and the receptors receive the dopamine, right? And that's when you get your little satisfaction. That's when you get your little boost of happiness for doing things. This is the limbic reward center evolved to to reward you for doing things that are going to continue your survival and continue the human species, right? Things like eating food, things like drinking water, having sex. All those things are things that are going to guarantee your survival and continue the human species. So we have this system built into us to help us remember that. So when you eat good food, this thing sends out a shot of dopamine, boom, it gets gobbled up, and then your brain remembers, hey, that felt good, I need to repeat that action, I need to do that again. That's how I'm going to survive, that's how I'm going to continue the species if I keep doing that thing again. So this is a way of programming you to how to stay alive, right? Well, drugs hack this system. They hijack the brain. We've heard it many times. People say that, addiction rewires your brain. What happens is when you do drugs, the dopamine gates open up and flood, right? And it gives your brain the same response that your brain is used to getting when you do things that guarantee your survival or things that continue the human species. So your brain now thinks that drugs are on that same level, right? Here's the list of things. We got food, we got water, what else? Sex. I know there's more things that go on this list. But anyways, things that guarantee your survival are up there on this list. And now drugs come in and they cause the same response. So over time, they don't exactly know when you cross the line from being a heavy drug user, right? To being an actual addict. I should have wrote those backwards. I should have wrote addict on top. They don't know when it is you actually cross that line. It's still really hard to determine when you actually have crossed the line and you are now an addict compared to being a hard drug user. There's so many things in common, especially when you're using highly addictive substances, because highly addictive substances even will make a non-addict start to show the same signs and symptoms of an actual addict. The same signs and symptoms will show up in a non-addict if they're using a highly addictive substance, such as meth. That's why, like, when people get high on meth, they start instantly lying, start manipulating, they start stealing from their family. They're doing a lot of the same things that an actual addict does, but in a lot of cases, the addiction hasn't even taken over yet. That is still on the fence, too. We don't know much about the brain, but they're still on the fence, too. Is it that it's making you show the signs and symptoms right away, or is it that methamphetamine is just instantly addictive and instantly turns you into an addict? They don't really know which way it is, but we do know that once you step away from the meth, the signs and symptoms start to fade away. They start to fall off. All of a sudden, you start to see through the veil and realize what you've been doing wrong. Now, going back to this here. This area back here, the ventral tegmental area, the limbic reward center in the back of your brain, is actually the midbrain, is what a lot of people call that. It's kind of like the reptilian brain. It's the unevolved brain. He is your fight or flight. He is your bouncer in your brain. As information comes in, it goes through this guy before it gets sent into the rest of the brain. As you're seeing things, as you're hearing things, as you're exploring this world, when things come into your world, your midbrain instantly has to decide, am I going to eat this thing? Am I going to screw this thing? Am I going to kill this thing? Or am I going to run away from this thing? And your midbrain is doing this continually throughout your day and throughout your life. Your midbrain is constantly. That's why when something new pops up, even if it's just like you come around the corner and they set up a new plant in the office or whatever, and you come around the corner, when you first encounter that plant, scares the crap out of you because that midbrain took over for a second and was like, oh no, what do I do with this thing? Am I going to kill it? Am I going to fuck it? Am I going to eat it? What am I going to do? It's got to make a decision right now. That's why we have that jump response, believe it or not. But anyways, the problem with that is that this guy is so primal. He's very primal. He runs on primal instincts, right? So when things come in, they get determined by him and then they filter into the rest of the brain. The area of your brain that is responsible for, which I think is kind of screwed up, the area of your brain that's responsible for controlling your impulses and controlling your spontaneous reactions, is the frontal lobe, the prefrontal cortex. So the area that makes your higher learning, your brain power, all of, the human brain, is in the front of the brain, which is fine. But the problem is all the information comes into this guy first, and then slowly it gets filtered up to the frontal lobe and then the frontal lobe. That's why, when you think about something, if you give yourself time to think about it and rationalize it and consider all the options, that's why you have a much better outcome, because you're actually letting the information go to your frontal cortex and you're making a rational decision on that. That's where your frontal cortex is, where like rationalization, that's where love happens. That's where all the good stuff happens, is in the front. But he's slow. It takes him a while to make decisions. In fact, that's why a lot of times after the fact, we look back and we say, oh man, I handled that situation so crappy. I really should have done this. That's because it took that long for your prefrontal cortex to rationalize what just happened and what went on, and now you realize that you overacted or you acted out in anger or whatever. The problem with a lot of drugs, especially methamphetamine and alcohol, is a huge one. I should have even said alcohol first. Alcohol is a huge one on this one, is those drugs disable your prefrontal cortex. They shut it down. Now, meth, not so much disabling of the prefrontal cortex as it is that you have that dopamine release when you first do meth, and it releases all your dopamine. So then after that, it's kind of like you're chasing the dragon tail. You're chasing that same high. But also, if you don't have dopamine in your brain, it's really hard for your brain to do any of its normal activity, to cause a happiness reaction or anything, because like even if you did something to cause the reaction, the door's open, there's no dopamine in there right now. So the doors just close again. That's why you get that numb feeling when you're high on meth and nothing makes you happy, nothing makes you sad, there is no extreme emotions when you're on meth, is because you're in dopamine depletion, and your brain literally doesn't even have the neurotransmitters that are capable of making you have those reactions. So a lot of things going on in your brain when you're on drugs. Now, but if we go back up here to this same, what I was talking about before, with how drugs are now on the list of things that your brain thinks you need to do in order to survive, right? I said that before, that it is now hacked in there, and now food, water, sex, and drugs is up there on that list of things you need to do to guarantee your survival and continue the human species. That's why you feel like you're going to die. When we were in our active addiction and the drugs were gone, yeah, there's especially with heroin, there's the physical dependency where your body literally just feels like shit. But I mean, even with meth doesn't have a physical dependency. But if you were hard enough into your addiction, when you didn't have meth, you felt like you were going to die. That's exactly why right there, because your brain is literally responding as if you're starving to death, or as if you don't have water, or as if it's sending off the alerts that you're going to die because you need that thing. It's already been put into this list up here. Now, back to this here. I know I'm such a scatterbrain. I hope you guys are picking up what I'm putting down and learning. Throw up some hearts if you're learning something from this. Let me know, because I know I'm kind of a scatterbrain. But coming back down here to this now, in your receptors, in those neural passageways, at the end of those neural passageways where we have the receptor beds, when you're doing a lot of meth or you're doing just a lot of drugs, you're overworking this whole system. This limbic reward system is not supposed to be worked like that. Things like sex, porn, drugs, those things cause an immense release of dopamine. Your brain is not used to that much dopamine channeling around, especially even some drugs like meth has a receptor blocker in it. So the dopamine gets released and then the doors close. Like it opens up, lets out all your dopamine, and then closes the door. So the dopamine doesn't go back in, or no, rather it leaves the door open. I'm sorry, it leaves the door open. So the dopamine has nowhere to go. Normally dopamine would come out, give you that reaction, go back into its little holding cell. But meth leaves those gates open. So that's why when you're on meth, you're in that stupid mode. It's just because it leaves the doors open, the dopamine has nowhere to go. So it just bounces around and causes this extreme euphoric feeling for like hours on end, But when you're doing this repeatedly over, every day, whatever, for weeks, you're constantly overstimulating your limbic reward center. What happens is inside of those receptor beds, your brain will start to grow more receptors, and in fact, in some cases, grow more of these receptor. I can't even think of the word now. I've talked too much. Neural passageways. Sometimes it grows more neural passageways and grows more receptors on the receptor beds to handle the influx of dopamine that's coming into your brain all the time. So now that's why you build the tolerance to the drugs or to the activity or to whatever it is. That's why you need crazier porn to get off. That's why you need more drugs to get high. That's why you need more work to feel that same sense of completion if you're a workaholic. Whatever it is, whatever your addiction is, the reason you're building a tolerance to it is because your brain is literally changing form. Now, in this spot, too, an interesting fact about this is where we have the actual disease of addiction taking place, because a disease is simply a disorder of structure or function within a living organism that causes specific signs and symptoms. I know all kinds of dictionary terms there, but that's the definition of a disease. So a disorder of structure or function. Well, obviously in a drug addict, we have a disorder of function, right? They're not communicating with their family. They're not, they're stealing, they're lying. They are not functioning properly. So that's your disorder of function. But the disorder of structure, the body doesn't change at all. We don't grow an extra limb or anything like that. But it's right here in your brain is the disorder of structure that happens in the actual disease of addiction. You may have wanted to do the drugs, right? I've said this before. It's a choice that leads to a disease. It's not like you were ever like, oh God, I can't stop myself. Oh God, I'm hitting the pipe again. Oh no. Oh, I'm out of control. You know what I mean? Like we actually wanted to do it and we did it. We made a choice to do it, but you were you had literally like a disease that was manipulating your movements in the time and corrupting your memories so that you don't remember the bad times. Like it's affecting your brain on so many different levels, right? Where was I going with it? Come back, Matthew. Bring that choo-choo train right back. Oh, okay. So you may have wanted to do the drugs, but you didn't want to grow more receptors on your brain. You didn't wake up one morning and say, oh my God, I wish I had more receptors on the receptor breads in my limbic reward center in my brain, and boop, 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 boop. You know what I mean? That was out of your control. This happened outside of your control. Some people argue that this isn't an actual disorder of structure, that this is simply brain damage caused by you doing the drugs. I disagree. I think brain damage would cause, like shutting down. It wouldn't cause extra growth. You know what I mean? So if we were to cut open a brain of an addict and a non-addict right now and look inside, you would see that the addict has far more receptors on their receptor beds in their brain, which also causes a problem in early recovery especially. Now, over time, these receptors will go into regression. Over time, your brain will realize that it's not going to get that same supply of dopamine from you anymore, and it'll start to shut some of these mouths down. So because it realizes we're not taking in as much dopamine anymore. I don't need all you guys, so some of you guys are getting fired, all right? We're going through cutbacks. Can't pay everybody. So some of you guys are getting laid off, right? They're getting put away. So over time, but this takes an extremely long time. This can take a year or two for your receptors to go back and retreat to a normal function. So that's when you will have, in the beginning of early recovery, why it was so hard to feel happy, why nothing brought you friggin' joy in the first 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year sometimes of recovery, and we're like just going through the motions, we're like, one day, everybody keeps telling me to keep my chin up, one day at a time. I guess I will, but this friggin' sucks, and I hate this. This is what's happening. You have way too many receptors in your receptor beds, so things that would normally cause somebody, a non-addict, would have this happen to them, and they'd be like, oh my God, I'm overjoyed. An addict in early recovery has that same thing happen, and they're kind of like, woohoo, that was cool, because we just have so many more mouths to feed. The shots of dopamine that you get from achieving normal things in a normal life, like just achieving everyday goals, don't bring us the same amount of joy that they do to a non-addict or to someone in long-term recovery. Because once you've been in long-term recovery for a while and you've had this all return back to a somewhat normal state of being, you're going to start feeling happy again. Don't let that lie fool you. I've had a lot of people message me, like recovering meth addicts, and ask me, like, do you ever feel truly happy again? I heard that it causes, I can't remember the name for it. There's a name for never feeling truly happy again. And I've had a lot of people message me and ask me about that. And I can tell you firsthand, you are definitely going to feel happy again. I have had times in my recovery where I was so, like just last weekend at Recover Out Loud, man, I was freaking just pumped. I can't even explain to you how friggin' high I was on life, man. It was amazing. So don't worry about it. It does get better. It does get better, guys. I hope this Hope this was good. I know I'm pretty scatterbrained up here, but this is kind of the basic information as to how addiction takes place in your brain. It explains out the disease of why it is an actual disease and not just a bad behavior or something like that. There was a lot of time back before the 1930s. They used to really believe that addiction was simply, poor behavior, and it was just you lacked the willpower to stop doing those terrible things. That's what it was. We just looked at it as that. You're just a weak person. You just can't stop doing drugs. You're just weak. But now we know much better that it's actually a lot of things that are happening in a person's addiction are outside of their control. It's not to say that they are completely overtaken and that they are a monster. They are still alive inside of there, but in a lot of ways it's like they do have something in their brain that's pulling the strings and controlling them and manipulating their memories, manipulating their actions. And like I said before, a lot of drugs that shut off the prefrontal cortex, and then you're just running on midbrain. Then everything that comes in, it doesn't go up to the front of the brain and get rationalized. That's especially with alcohol. That's why you lose your inhibitions when you're on alcohol and you do some stupid stuff that you would never do normally. That's because your prefrontal cortex is totally shut down and your body's just running on this freaking midbrain. So everything that comes in, it's just like, yeah, let's just do that. That's cool because that sounds like it's going to feel good. So I'm going to do the things that feel good. And I'm going to have sex with this random person. And I'm going to do this. And I'm going to drink more. And I'm going to do some drugs. And I'm going to do whatever. So honestly, alcohol is just such a demon, man. It really is. Jezamio, we need some positive vibes for these rainy days of depression. Let the sun come out to keep pushing these clouds away. Amen, brother. Amen. Holy man, that's a long comment. I'm not even going to get into it. I appreciate it, though, brother. Good to see all you guys this morning. I got to give some shout-outs here. Let me scroll back up here. Linzer, good morning. How you doing today? Brandy Conklin, love this information. Maddie Jablonski, awesome. I'm glad you did. Michael says, great live, Maddie. Right on, Michael. Glad to have you here, brother. Jezamio, there's things you can do to higher your serotonin. St. John's wort, sipple cup of coffee. Amen. Amen. And even just setting yourself daily goals can really help you with your serotonin and your dopamine levels. Just setting a daily goals that are really easily achievable, like making your bed when you first get up. Like that's a really easy way to get yourself a boost of dopamine in the morning. Like it's because, believe it or not, you might not even think about it, but when you wake up and you say to yourself, I'm going to make my bed, you just set a goal. And then when you make your bed right away, you just achieved a goal. Your brain will give you a little shot of dopamine, and then you can move on to the next thing and just keep going and try and just keep that frickin' motivation and that forward momentum moving through your day. Jezamio, I'm a walking encyclopedia. God made me that way. Right on. Good. I'm glad to have you here, brother. Jax Carlson, anything I had planned on doing or going anywhere has been canceled. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Keep your head up, though. Let's see. The synapses in your brain. Thank you, Jezamio. I appreciate that. Let's see. Being aligned to your soul and your higher power feels good. When you're out of alignment, it will feel like something isn't right. Here are 3 signs that you're not in sync and are therefore temporarily closed off from miracles. Ooh, I'm not going to read that right now. I'm going to let you guys, if anybody is interested in reading that comment, go right ahead and find that, and I will check that out a little later, brother. Thank you. Ann Heath, good morning, Maddie, and everyone. Good morning, Ann. Good to see you here. Jax, at the cost of being made to quit my service work and being left at home, I can't go to church. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that, brother. Well, try and figure something out and get another ride or, whatever you can do, brother. If it's something you really want, you'll pull it off. Let's see, Kristen, you'd be a great instructor in a psych course. Oh, I thank you, Kristen. I appreciate that. But I like to be a great teacher right here at the Point of Change is where my heart belongs. Josh and Laura, you're welcome. That's awesome, man. Right on. What am I? Oh, I'm at the top now. Coming back down. Coming on back down. Let's see what we got going on down here. Devaney, good morning. Needing some light right now. My friend overdosed the other night. It was very unexpected. Oh no, Devaney, I'm really sorry to hear that. Is your friend, did they live through the overdose? I pray and I hope they did. Angie, what a great live today, Maddie. I appreciate you, brother. Amen, Angie. I'm glad you got a little bit of good information out of this. Jessica, Jax, as of last night, I did my last live video being made to shut down my project. Well, I'm not understanding exactly what's going on there, Jax. You're gonna have to message me if you'd like to have a conversation about it a little more in depth. But live videos, especially if you're just making them from your page, the only people that I don't know what you mean by someone's making you shut down your platform or your project. If I'm gonna go ahead and say it. You're the only one who can make you shut your project down, Jax. Okay? You're the only one who can make you shut that down. Other people can say things to try and influence you to stop. Other people might get in your way or do things to stop your forward momentum, or to shut you down, or to try to get you in your head. But the only person who can go on Facebook and go to your page or your group or your profile and shut it down is you, or Facebook, if they actually get their mitts in it. Maybe if you're in Facebook jail or something like that, but I highly doubt that's what's happening. So the only person who can stop you from doing what you want to do is you, man. That's no bullshit there either. Jessica, I hate the come down. One day you're having the best day ever, laughing and having a great time. It's the next day, the come down, that gets me, when everything has settled down and your brain is like, blah. Oh, amen. Amen. And you know what I hate about the come down is the realization that all the promises were fake. The realization on day 2, day 3, whatever day you're on, because you've been up for a long, like me, I used to stay up for weeks on end. And whenever you come to that come down and you realize that all those promises you made with all those guys, everybody that was hanging out, and you were all, oh yeah, man, tomorrow we're gonna do this thing. And sometimes we were making those promises to our own family, telling your kids or telling your parents, oh yeah, I'm coming by tomorrow and we're gonna do an awesome thing and it's gonna be great. And then the next day comes and your body is dead, your brain is dead, and all those promises that you made yesterday mean nada to you today. And all of a sudden it's, oh, mommy don't feel good, we're not going to the park today. Oh, I'm not going to make it today. I'm not going to be able to be there because either I'm just coming down from the drugs I had yesterday, or I don't have enough drugs to keep me high today, or whatever our problem was. Or even if it was, I got too many drugs and I don't want to go do my thing now because I want to stay and get high. It was just always an excuse. There was always a reason to not be there. And we wasted a lot of time. We really did. I don't like to call it, I hate to say that we wasted a lot of time, because honestly, the time you spent in your active addiction, yeah, we went the wrong way. Yeah, we were doing some messed up stuff, but it wasn't wasted time. I mean, a lot of us are the person we are today. In fact, I would say all of us, we are the person we are today because we went through our active addiction. Things that we seen and we did in our active addiction, and things that happened to us and things that happened for us in our active addiction, that led us to being the person we are today. And the person I am today, I love the person I am today. So I would not take back my addiction for anything. It's weird to say that today. It really is, that I'm thankful for my 13 years of meth addiction. But I will say that we missed out. We missed out on a lot of awesome opportunities to be there for our families and our friends, but had to go through what you had to go through to be the person you are today, and that's a beautiful thing. All right, Windy, Cindy, Bo, Bindy, good morning, my sunshines. Good morning, Windy, Cindy, good to have you here. Devaney Ray, he did not. He is no longer with us. Oh, I am so sorry to hear that, Devaney. That really sucks. My prayers are with you. My prayers are with him. My prayers are with the family and everybody involved. That's for sure. That always is a really punch to the soul right there when you find out we lost somebody to addiction. This disease takes 100 people every single day, man, every single day. And on that note, I hate it. I hate to bring the tone down here, but guys, if you're watching this, if you have any thoughts of like relapsing and going back out, anything like that, always make sure you message me, please, or message somebody here. Come to one of my videos and look through the comments, and you will find somebody in there that's saying, hey, if anybody's struggling, reach out to me. Or if you'd rather talk to a female, there's plenty of females here. If you want to talk to me, you can talk to me. Just hit that message button on my page and message me, because I would much rather get a message of you struggling and having a hard time tonight and talk to you for a while and maybe get you through it or get you to the resources you need. I'm not as resourceful as some of these other guys in the recovery world. I don't have all the connections to rehabs and stuff like that. I can't guarantee you a bed or I'm just not that guy. That's not my thing. But what I can do is talk to you and help you through that moment if you're having a problem. And let me put it this way. I know this makes it really real, but when I get a message from somebody, or I find out on Facebook that one of my followers passed away to an overdose because they got a bad batch or they went back out. And when we relapse, we always try to go back out. We always end up doing too much because a relapse, there's a lot of factors that move in there. Like you start using and then you feel shameful and guilty because you've been in recovery for X amount of years and now you've relapsed and you know better. So that shame and that guilt will cause you to use more. Or you have the thought of, I'm going to use as much as I used to use, and then you end up overdosing and dying. A lot of problems that happen with a relapse that cause overdose deaths. But think about this, like when I get that message or when I find out that somebody passed away from addiction, I always go to their profile and I search through their pictures to find a picture to make a post for them, to make a memorial post and tell everybody, so and so passed away from a drug overdose last night. R.I.P. Like fly high, another angel gone too soon, and then I put their picture at the bottom. So go to your Facebook profile. If you're ever thinking about overdosing, go to your Facebook profile and I want you to look through your pictures and I want you to think, which picture do you think Maddie's going to pick to put on your memorial post? Go through your closet and decide which shirt of mine is my mom going to hug for a year after I'm gone. Which shirt of mine is my girlfriend or my boyfriend going to keep in their dresser forever to remember me by? Those are the things that I bring to my mind to remind me of where I need to stay and that I got to keep doing this. I got to keep doing this because I don't want to make that picture of you guys. And I don't want somebody to have to make that picture of me. So just remember that. Remember that. If ever you're thinking of going back out, just go back and look at that stuff, man. I'll tell you what, that'll pull your head out of your ass real quick. Oh, let's see. Faith Renee, that's relapse facts right there for sure. Brandy, my messenger is always open. If you need someone, please message or call me in Messenger. Right on, Brandy. Jessica, even being sober for 11 years, I still have my come downs after feeling overjoyed. One day, the next day is usually a drag, the lack of dopamine. But a sober come down is so much better than a drug induced come down. For sure, for sure. I have felt that same thing when you have an amazing day and then the next day you feel like garbage. Like that's everything in this world that causes a dopamine release will also cause a come down, believe it or not. Like even sex, and sex, believe it or not, causes a lot of withdrawals. There's a lot of people out there that don't realize that they're going through withdrawals when they break up with somebody and they think the only, you're going to face the grief of losing, your significant other. You guys broke up, that sucks and that hurts too. But then if you were having sex on the regular and now you go to a single life where you ain't getting laid no more, guess what? You're going through a withdrawal period, bro. You go through a detox and it messes with your emotions. It really screws up your head a lot more than even the heartbreak does. Let's see, Jasamio, the reason why you feel alone is the people in your life that are making you feel alone, that you don't matter on what you say or what you do. Amen. Right on, Jasamio. The people we surround ourselves with are really important, man. Really important. Angie says any woman can message me if you're struggling. Right on. Good to have you guys here. Windy, Cindy, Bo, Bindi. I have never believed in making a promise. It's too easy for them to be broken. Too many experiences with people breaking promises. Not going to do it. Won't hurt someone like that. I am very edgy about ever making promises as well. I tell people I will do my best to make that happen, but I don't like to promise anything. Just because in this world you're responsible for the effort, but you're not responsible for the outcome. You know what I mean? Like you can you can do everything perfectly, line everything up just the way you want it. It's supposed to go on. It's supposed to happen on this date at this time. And then a natural disaster or something out of your control, some existential circumstance comes in the way, and now that thing that you promised would happen can't happen, and it's not your responsibility or your fault that it can't happen, but you broke a promise in the running. So I totally understand that mindset on it, Wendy Cindy. Michael says his inbox is always open. Right on, Jasamio. You can't let those who quit on you quit on yourself. Right on, brother. Right on. Jax, just listening to you gives me hope to try and move forward. You can, brother. Don't worry about it. Don't let those people that say that, whoever's talking down about you, if it's your family, your friends, whoever it is, don't let them get in your head, brother. Don't let them get in your head and stop you from moving forward into something that you really want to do. Devaney, the thing is, he did talk to me and his other friends. I was talking to him right before it happened. This is the second child his mother lost to overdose. It is being investigated due to they think the stuff he received was laced with something. But it's still hard. He was a good person and loved by so many. Thank you, everyone, for your kind words. Right on, Devaney. That is tough. That is really tough to hear. Yeah, especially because you were talking to him. But that's the case with many people, you know. I guess we'd have to message a little more, and if you want to message me and we can talk about it a little more, some of the other details about it, we don't have to put it all out here on blast here. Jasmine, say I promise you that I won't break your heart on purpose. Hey, there you go. I won't do it on purpose. There you go. Negativity is a virus, and it is a dream killer. I agree. I agree. Jack, considered and really thinking about becoming a monk or a friar. Yeah, well, you consider it and think about it, brother. You make the right choice for your life. That's all I know. Jasmine, if you say you can and you say you can't, you're probably right at the end of the day. It's all what you tell yourself. Amen. Amen. It really is. If you think you can or if you think you can't, you're right. I believe that same thing, man. All right, guys, I am going to get out of here. I'm going to work a little bit late today. I got to pick up my best friend's kid from school. He's getting out a little bit early today, and my best friend's still at work. So, got to make sure I'm there for that. Got to be there for our friends and family these days, right? All right, guys, I love you guys so much. Thanks for hanging out with me this morning. I hope you learned something, and I hope I gave you a little bit of hope. And I will see you guys tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Let's see, this weekend I have a guest, Dwayne Lanham, or Lanham. Dwayne Lanham. He will be here Sunday at 7 p.m. Central to share his story with us. And I'm looking for some more people. I got a couple holes this month, or one. I have one date this month. Father's Day, I'm going to be up north helping my brother. He closed on his new house, so I'm going to be helping him with some construction and stuff like that. Hopefully, I can talk him into going live with me, and we'll do like a Father's Day kind of thing. But the weekend after that, Sunday, I don't have anybody lined up. So if you're out there and you agree with my recovery methods and you like my way of recovery and my way of speaking or whatever, and you would love to share your story, please message my page. I would love to hear from you. Thank you guys so much for being here, and I will see you tomorrow morning. Until